again, and welcome to this very ambiguous part of my character creation series. So you might be a little bit confused if you came from the last video. What is all this? We have materials now? We have clothes now? Let me explain. So I actually made a video on the clothes and the materials. Together they were about half an hour, but I wasn't happy with the contents of the video. Basically, I felt like what I was doing was very basic, like there wasn't any educational value in even showing you. For the clothes, the modeling was very simple. There wasn't really anything special about it. And for the materials, again, the materials were very simple. If you're a beginner, there might have been some useful information for you there, but generally speaking, if you just tried, I think you could have figured out anything I showed you in that video on your own. So yeah, right now I'm leaning towards skipping those videos because I don't think there's any value in them. But let me know in the comments if you would like me to reconsider. Just one note about this series in general. As we go on, this series is going to become less and less of me showing you things and more of me figuring out things and telling you about them. So keep that in mind. I've mentioned it a couple times now already, but let me reiterate that this is not a tutorial series. So anyway, this video is actually about rigging. I feel like there are some things here that I could show you, some custom things that I do with my rigs that might be useful. So that's why we're going over this. Before we get started, I just want to give a couple of comments regarding the materials. Like I said, there wasn't much of interest in the materials, but there is some points of interest that you might be curious about. So I'm just going to mention those real quick. So all the materials in this model are procedural. I only really work with procedural models because I hate looking for textures. You might be curious about how I made the knit pattern that's on the shirt. I'm going to link you a video that explains it basically, but it's honestly very simple. We just distort the UVs and we just draw a circle basically. That's the long and the short of it. In the future, I hope to do more content regarding procedural workflows. And I had hoped to do some here, but I just couldn't think of anything that would really fit. Uh, so the materials were very simple in this case, and they didn't really lend themselves to the kind of content that I wanted to make. But anyway, there is more to come. Another thing you might be curious about is the skin shader. This is honestly very simple. I'm just using a Voronoi texture to fake some pores on the skin with a bump map. I would say I'm still not happy with the skin shader. I am actively looking to improve it. So I don't really have much to say on it at this time, but in the future I might show you a better version of it. And yeah, that's really all I had to say. So let's get started with the rigging. So for rigging, I absolutely recommend using the built-in add-on of Blender Rigify. It is super simple to use and super powerful. I will show you a brief time lapse of me lining up the bones, but honestly, there isn't a whole lot to say here. If you're a beginner and you don't know what you're doing, I will link you a channel that will help you get started with rigging, and that channel will be CG Dive, the king of rigging channels in Blender. My main man Todor will take you from beginner to pro in no time. So, if you're even a little bit interested in this subject, I would absolutely recommend listening to what he has to say. While we are on the topic of recommendations, I also want to recommend the channel by Pirik Pico. He's another rigging god of YouTube. His content tends to be more intermediate to expert, but if you have a complex problem, there's a good chance he has actually covered it in one of his videos. So make sure you stay subscribed to him. But anyway, back to business. So in the first part, there's nothing much special happening. I'm just aligning the basic bones that come pre-packaged with the Rigify rig. You'll notice that I created some extra bones for the ass. I find that these bones are actually quite important if you want the ass to retain its shape when you raise the leg. So that's why I created those. But yeah, the main special thing about this rig is going to be definitely the custom face rig. I think the Rigify face rig is good, but I want more control. And for anime, which tends to have really like wacky and stylized expressions, I feel like it doesn't give you enough flexibility. That's why we're going to be making our own face rig. So yeah, the face rig I'm going to go with is simple to the point of absurdity, but I find that it works decently well. Just as a disclaimer, this face rig is really not all that amazing. I'm still working on it, but this is what I got so far. So really the only thing that's special in this face rig is the lips. For the rest of the face, I either use controller bones that don't have widgets, so you can't actually control them. They're just there to soak up the weight, or I'm using presets from Rigify. So you get the same result as if you were to use the pre-built face rig. So what is special about this face rig is just the mouth, because the mouth is really what I'm unhappy with in this the face rig of Rigify. And in my version, the basic idea is that you have one bone per edge of the lip. So this gives you the maximum amount of control that the geometry allows for. The problem with this approach is that it's really hard to animate, really time consuming and really fiddly. So what we actually want to do is we want to have these bones that are parented to one edge of the lip as tweak bones, and then we want to animate with controller bones that are controlling multiple of these tweak bones at one time. So how you want to execute this step of the face rig is up to you. Like you could use a bendy bone or an IK spline here to have a smoother mouth rig. In my case, I parent two or three of the tweak bones to one controller bone, and I animate it like that. I find that this gives you like the ability to do sharp and jagged expressions, which are, in my opinion, necessary for anime style expressions. So if you were using bendy bones or an IK spline solution, it might be easier to animate because you can control more of the bones at once. But I think it has a effect of smoothing out the expressions, which you may or may not want. In my case, I don't actually want that. I want to have the option to have like really jagged expressions, basically, like I said. One thing you'll notice about my model that I haven't mentioned until now is that I have no geometry in between the lip loop and the loop that goes around the mouth, basically. This is intentional. This is to facilitate exactly this type of mouth rig. If there was more geometry between the lips and the cheeks, um, it would be really difficult to get these wide expressions because you would need some kind of solution to like bunch up the vertices basically and keep the structure of the mouth intact. But it's much easier when there is no geometry, so the structure of the mouth stays intact by default. The trade-off, of course, is that you get scuffed shading around the mouth because there's just a lack of geometry there. But in my opinion, I think this is a trade-off worth making, especially for an anime style. For a realistic style, you may not have this option, but then you also probably wouldn't want these wide expressions. So that's my reasoning here. So I think this is a trade-off worth making. So one improvement that I actually made during the course of this video to this face rig is actually I made some more controller bones controlling the cheek loop. So, and the idea is that these cheek controllers copy the location of the lip controllers. So as the lips stretch out, the cheeks stretch out as well. This gives you a little bit more range of motion for the lips to like go even further. It could probably still be improved more, but for the moment, this is what I got. And yeah, the rest of the face is pretty much standard. The reason I have all those controllers around the eyes is that I don't want the eyelids to affect the face deformation. If I was really fancy, I could like have these controllers be controlled by the eyelids and the mouth and whatever else. But in my case, I just want the geometry to stay put. Now, you don't actually need these controllers. In this case, you could just parent these vertices to the head bone. But I find that it's actually easier to have these controllers um, because then you don't have to go in and weight paint basically. The bone automatic weighting just handles it for you. So that's my reasoning there. I guess one other thing that's special about this face rig is the eyebrow rig, which is just two bendy bones. Not really that special, but it doesn't come pre-packaged with Rigify. If you don't know how to set up bendy bones, then I will link you a video on that. But it's really easy. One thing I like to do with the eyebrow rig and a couple of other parts of the rig is that I want to have it such that it doesn't actually affect the body mesh. You can achieve this by first parenting the armature to the body mesh with empty weights and then locking the groups that correspond to the bones that you don't want to affect the mesh. So in this case, for example, the eyebrows, if you were to lock the groups while they're empty, even if you afterwards parent with automatic weights, those groups will stay empty. So that's a little tip for you. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is that I replaced the breastbones with another bendy bone rig. Nothing too special there, but I find that if you have to hand animate the breasts, it's nicer to have that bendy bone there for some squash and stretch. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. During the course of this video, there was a lot of micro adjusting that I had to do. I didn't actually film a lot of that, just to respect your time. For example, with the fingers, I had to regenerate the rig quite a few times to get it right. I always have a lot of trouble with the fingers for some reason. Um, it might have actually been educational for me to show you how I fixed the problem, but I think you can figure it out. The basic idea is that you want the fingers to be like all aligned. So just use the align bone command and you should be fine. And then the other thing is that you want the roll to be cleared. But yeah, if you follow those two steps, I think you should be fine. We're probably going to have at least one more rigging video in the future, where I'm going to share any improvements that I make. But also, I want to cover, for example, how to work with multiple rigs. So if you have an object that is rigged and you have your character rig, how do you actually um, cooperate between these rigs? By the way, I'm sorry I didn't go over like every little detail, like what everything is parented to and things like that. Like this video would have been twice or thrice as long if I had done that. And I don't know if you really want me to do that. Like, please leave a comment if for if you're unhappy with me for any reason. Like, I would really like to know. This is still a very young channel, so I don't know what I'm doing, frankly. But yeah, I think this is pretty much it. In the next video, I think we might go into texture painting. If not, then the other topic that I would like to cover right now is adding physics to your model. So for example, for the breasts, we're obviously going to want to have physics, and some other things maybe we might have physics for. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you then.